Hi, I'm Michelle Olivier, and you're listening to Hey, I Want Your Job, the podcast that looks at amazing jobs and what it takes to get them. Welcome to Hey, I Want Your Job. And today I am joined by somebody whom I kind of have her job, but I'm not probably as good at it as she is, though she would never say that out loud because she's the humblest. And I think she's fabulous. She is one of my thought leaders in my industry that I follow. So I am totally jazzed to talk to her. Amy Miller, what's your job title?
Hello. Technically, my job title is Senior Technical Recruiter.
I've had that job title.
Mm-hmm.
But for whom do you do this?
I work for a little company called Amazon. Maybe you've heard of us.
But not just any Amazon.
Not just
Amy.
any old Amazon job.
I believe there was a penis rocket involved. Was that?
That is a different company, ma'am. We get confused with our dear friends at Blue Origin all the time. Completely different company, just so you know. No, I actually recruit for a fun little division called Project Kuiper. Rhymes with IPER. We get all kinds of weird versions of that. It is Kuiper. I've had people argue with me about it. Like, sir, I work here. It's Kuiper. I promise you. But we are building satellites. So yeah, just so you know, we do cover that in our orientation. It is definitely Kuiper.
and I am having recruited as a senior technical recruiter for a satellite company. Your job sucks, my friend. It sucks.
It's hard.
Because there's like 3 of those bastards. And everybody wants them.
Pickens. Everybody wants them. I get both excited and terrified when I look up like competitors and stuff, because I'm like, oh, here's companies I've never heard of. Oh no, they're going to come after my people. So it's kind of that double-edged sword, you know?
Oh yeah. No, so I used to recruit for a company called Surrey Satellites.
Yes.
I would say, I'm sure you have heard of Surrey Satellites.
Oh, yeah.
Most people in the industry have. So I recruited for Surrey Satellites, and yeah, there's like 5, and you're up against like freaking NASA and the European Space Authority.
Oh, for sure. JPL.
For your talents.
Yeah.
You know who's really hard to compete with, Amy? I know you do. NASA, because they're cool. They're NASA.
Hey, that street cred, man. I tell you, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to beat.
Like, they don't pay shit, but they're still freaking NASA.
It's still NASA. I mean, you can't top that.
I literally had a candidate that was like one of the impossible people, right? And I was like, right, come to us. We will love you. We will throw flowers at you. You want Starbucks? I'll bring you Starbucks. What do you want? Anything, just tell me. And we was on final interview, and I was like, yes, this is going so well. You're coming to us, come to us. And like, they were like, yes, good job. You finally found the right person. And then last minute, I am so sorry, but I have conflicting offers from the European Space Authority and NASA. I was like, you can't go to NASA. They're in the US. You're European. And he was like, they're going to do full sponsorship and secret clearance. And I was like,
and that's hard. You know, that's impossible, right?
Damn it.
Oh, NASA. You fickle bitch.
Why must you break my dreams?
It's hard. I mean, I used to joke about recruiting rocket scientists, and now I'm like, hi, can you please do science on this rocket? That's what we need you to do. Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Okay, but the worst, for me at least, were always the damn optics experts. Rockets
I've heard
plus
stories.
Optics.
Yeah.
There's like 3.
And I have not touched our optical team, thank goodness. I'm all mechanical. That's hard enough, but I've heard stories.
Like, it's not even that they're expensive, Amy.
Right.
Like, but they're the kind of people that you can even just keep saying numbers at them and they don't care.
Right.
Like, what do I need to do to make you care? Dancing ladies? We can get dancing ladies. How about a bit with a dog? Whatever. You tell me. I got you, boo. feed you a grape, done. Like,
Name your price.
The lengths that I have been willing to go to, and I know you are the same for the right candidate, are amazing. And yet they don't. Yeah, no.
And yet.
Yes. Oh, dear God. And so what I think is fascinating is because one of the things that makes me love you is that you fully embrace the fact that despite being willing to feed grapes and get ostrich plume fans for the right candidates,
you got it.
We are very busy being very evil in the mindset of most candidates.
I mean, she's a recruiter. That's all you need to know.
Right. I mean, we don't really exist anymore. It's really just the ATS that does it for us, right?
It's all, I'm secretly Sherman. In case you didn't know, this is my real persona. I think
you'll find I am Sherman today.
You're Sherman. I thought I was Sherman. No, I not? I'm Sherman.
Oh, okay, all right. You can be Sherman.
They're all Sherman. It's like a Spartacus moment. We're all Sherman.
Oh my God. Oh my giddy aunts. So yesterday for one of my clients, I don't know what happened with this rec, but like it just blew up and all of a sudden I had 60 freaking applicants.
Oh, wow.
In one day. I know, that day that happens. And I was like, oh, here we go. And it's like, and it's Lever is the ATS, right?
I've heard good things. Heard good things.
Lever is way less sucky than most of the others. So much less sucky. But you only get first page of the resume. And then you have to like clickety click and wait and blah, blah, blah to get more than that. Girl, you know what happens. I didn't look at any second pages. Because there were 50 of those fuckers and I had like 20 minutes to get through them.
And you're like, oh man. But is it not true that if the first page was exciting enough?
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So here is me and you tell me, my guess is you're the same. My deal is this. You get 10 seconds in the first page to get put in the maybe pile.
Yes. I would concur.
You get into the maybe pile, you get like 5 minutes of my time. The amount of time I spend on maybes and yeses is high.
Yeah.
But it's that 10 to 15 seconds that everybody likes to throw around, that stupid number that's totally made up.
Oh,
that is the just to get into the maybe pile. That's it. So I looked at all of the second pages for the maybe pile.
Yeah, right.
It was just the overwhelming majority that did. And so
I mean, I know everyone likes to tell us that we should just, give people a chance and whatnot. And I appreciate that. And there's a time and a place for that. But it does not take me more than 10 seconds to realize that a student who is still finishing undergrad is not a fit for a senior role requiring at least 5 years of experience. I can figure that out pretty damn quickly. So y'all can be mad about that. We'll get you a cape. You can be super mad. It's all good. But that is just the reality that a lot of recruiters face. Like, we have to make those tough calls initially. And unfortunately, that's an easy one.
So here's my question for you though. And this is just recruiter to recruiter. Like when you're managing that rec in the first place, right? Yes. I really hate it when a manager comes to me and they're like, oh, we need at least 10 years of experience. I'm like, well, what if they're 9 years and 364 days?
That part. Yep.
And they're like, well, I mean, obviously, okay. So 10 years.
But it's not obvious.
So 10 years we made up. So what is it we actually give a shit about? Because it's not really, and so I, as a recruiter, it sounds like you're the same. I hate when they give me a number of years because it's arbitrary shit that you made up. What would you like if I just made you queen of the world?
Yeah.
What would you have your hiring managers do instead that would be like useful and actionable?
Well, so, as queen of the world, and I'm assuming that this will come with an upgraded magic wand once I am appointed queen of the world. But what I would do as queen of the world is I would first of all rethink OCCP compliance, which is what makes me put the fucking years of experience in the first place. OCCP said, Amy, you have to make this measurable. And you know what's measurable?
Numbers.
Therefore, I have to have numbers. So here's what I do, because I do the same exact thing you just mentioned, Michelle, and I love that. So I'll have a manager say, well, I need somebody with like at least like 7 or 8 years of experience or more. And I say, okay, great. So 6 years of experience. What does that look like? And so we start having this back and forth of what does that number actually translate to? And it's typically they've shipped more than one product. They've worked on multiple versions of something. So we have to somehow take that requirement and put a number on it because of freaking OFCCP. But you best believe we're getting it down to the absolute minimum. Like there's no way someone who's done this less than 3 years has done the number of iterations of something. Okay, that I can live with, because we know the right person probably has 7 or 8 years, but we're going to slap 3 on there because we want to open the pool.
We have an overachiever started at 18. Great.
Exactly.
Let's take a look. So I want to just pause and rewind, because one of the things that I have seen you get shit for kind of a lot on your posts and your videos and stuff is when you say, I have to do this. And people are like, nobody put a gun to your head. And the correct answer is what you said a second ago, which is that actually the feds did.
Yeah.
So the OFCCP thing, and I get it wrong because I don't work in your world that way, is I'm going to try to define, but then I want you to correct me. And then I want you to speak to what this means for you.
Okay.
So for those people who do not know, if your organization gets federal money, federal grants, if they're working on a federal contract, etc., you are subject to the rules of governance laid out by the federal contractor program.
Yes.
If you want to play nicely with them in the foreseeable future, you need to demonstrate a track record of having already been behaving that way. So if you are working for a weed farm in Colorado, you don't need to worry about it because the feds are not coming to be your friend.
No.
What the rest of us, like the rest of people who are, or if you're working for a small organization that you know isn't going to, you're right. Then there is no gun to those recruiters' heads.
Sure.
You do you, boo.
Yeah.
But for the rest of them, which is not a small percentage of organizations, there are these crazy town rules. So did I get that right? Which you're nodding makes me think that obviously I did. And I'm a genius.
Of course. You've done your homework.
Obviously. But talk to me about what that in terms of practicality means for you.
Absolutely. No, I love this question. And I actually did a poll recently on, do you know OFCCP? Like I wanted to know who can actually claim some understanding of this. And for the no's, like that's okay. There's an opportunity to fill you in, right? So I'm glad we're talking about this. But basically, OFCCP, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, and it is geared towards federal contractors, using that term loosely, and how they process internet applicants. That is the actual term that is defined in OFCCP regulations. So what that means, if you are an organization who is doing business with the government to the tune of, I want to say it's either 10,000 or 50,000. I can't remember exactly.
Which there are no government contracts less than that. So
there are none less than that. That's a negligible amount when you think about it. But if you are doing business with the government to that amount or higher, you are now subject to these regulations. I get a lot of pushback. Oh, well, that's just government contractors. That's just in the cleared space. That's just in this. That's just in that. Honey, that's in FANG. Okay. Do you know how many Windows licenses Microsoft sells to the government? Do we need to talk about, the various, security contracts and things like that, and ads that are sold and bought and all that kind of stuff between these companies? Do we need to talk about FDIC? Who's protecting your money sitting in the bank? Who do you think is covered by OFCCP? Your bank teller.
Absolutely. And social media, which this does not get enough, but they all have contracts with the intelligence company end of things to sell them your data, etc. So you're right.
Oh, what about
Bang, big tech.
I know I had a company that when I was an agency recruiter, I placed security guards at the federal courthouse. Guess who's bound by OFCCP?
Absolutely.
So, who's putting the toilet paper in the bathrooms at the national parks?
Yeah.
companies that have a contract with the government.
So much bigger than people think it is.
It
Like
is.
it is much more. And like, I'm really spoiled right now because thank knock wood, none of my clients
Right.
fall into this right now. But it does make innovation in the recruitment sector really hard because they're the federal government who are not known for nimble thinking.
No.
Or modern anything.
Practices. Exactly.
Right? The fact that they have acknowledged that there are online applicants, let's face it, is a minor miracle in 2021.
I mean, that was a big deal when it moved to internet applicants.
Oh, yeah.
They actually added that qualifier, and I was like, "Oh, they're catching up. It's only been 10 years."
The federal government found the internet. Who knew?
They did. I mean, well, I think Al finally filled him in. Once he invented it, he went back and was like, "Hey guys, guess what I did?" Little Gen X humor there for you. Some of you may not know who Al is. That's okay.
Does that make us old? I don't think we're old, Amy.
I mean, we're vintage. Let's go with that.
Absolutely. I will take vintage all day long. That sounds much cooler. So, I think that I get really frustrated, right? Because as you know, because we know each other on the LinkedIn, I'm noisy about my opinions on things. And I say things like resumes are racist. You should stop using them if you don't want to have a racist system. Okay. But at the same time, you can't.
Yeah.
You can agree with me on that all day long.
Sure.
You can be like, you know what, Michelle? It is. It's crazy. It's messed up. It's a terrible tool. We shouldn't use them. And yep, I totally see exactly what you mean, why it's racist, it's sexist, it's all the ists.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the feds say that I have to have one.
Yeah.
So.
And that is where the responsibility of the recruiter to use their influence is so important. I made a very, I don't know if it's popular or just infamous at this point, I don't know, but it's probably my best performing post, God help me, about what I hear as a job seeker, as a candidate, as someone who has also been on the market in the past, what I hear when you tell me hire for culture fit. If I don't look like you, if I don't sound like you, if I'm not from where you're from, if I don't have the same pedigree that you do, you're not going to hire me. And I say that as somebody who's done pretty damn well in my career. Yeah. Finally, it took me a long time to get here, but I do have now, thank God, I've reached a certain point in my career where I can throw some of this ample weight around a little bit. Yeah. But it's not always been that way. And so recruiters have a responsibility to check that shit at the door and not let those isms impact our hiring managers and interviewers' thought process and decision.
And I totally agree. And I feel like I made a comment on somebody's post. I don't think it was yours. I think it was somebody else's the other day about, they were like, oh, should recruiters give feedback, blah, 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 or should they be willing to pick up the phone and tell you you've been rejected after multiple rounds of interview? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Recruiters this is not a job for the faint of heart.
No.
You get it from both ends. The hiring managers are pushing back because they have this picture in their head.
Yes.
They have, I don't like the whole branding of hiring managers as evil monsters, because they aren't any more than we are. But they have a specific need. Usually we get to talk to them when somebody has quit, when something has happened, like they're in the weeds, right? They're not their best selves in that moment.
Right.
And so we get it from that, and they need that person yesterday, usually. And that's fine, but it means that our job has to be to say, I hear your panic. I hear your concern. Yeah. Now I need you to just stop. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and I just need you to answer the damn things. I don't need you to try to preempt me, but that takes a lot of balls.
It does.
That is not an easy thing to do, especially when you're dealing with like a CTO of an organization or VP of scientific development, like the kind of guys you deal with, where you have to be like, I hear you. Now my turn. How, for people who are trying to get into recruitment, that are trying to get there, what is your recommendation? How do you get that person? How do you get that moxie?
How do you get the moxie? I mean, I think this is my number one red flag when someone approaches me about getting into recruiting. Why do you want to get into recruiting, Amy?
I really like
Well,
people.
I love people. How'd you know? How'd you know? Like, I just want to help. Oh, baby, this is not the job for you. Because
Customer service. You should go
help,
there.
you should go into customer service because help comes in the form of a lot of pain and a lot of rejection. Okay. We are helping the mission. We are helping the organization. We are helping move the program forward. We are not helping individuals. It is a beautiful side effect. Believe me, I have cried with candidates who have been like, oh my God, finally getting reemployed after, a year or after a horrible pandemic. Or one of my candidates who's getting an offer, not to give it away, has been laid off twice in the last 6 months. Like he just had a run of bad luck all of a sudden. He was very nervous about going into the process with me because he's like, well, is this stable? And I'm working, and all this. I cannot tell you how excited I am about the outcome for this guy. So those are beautiful side effects of the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is to solve business problems through talent. That's it. I'm not here to kiss anybody's ass. I'm not here to wage a customer service war against, whatever mythology or bad stuff you've heard about recruiting. I'm here to make sure that my team is fully staffed with the right people so that they can go and build the thing that they're building. That's it. So if you have that mindset, you can succeed. But if you're coming to me with the mindset of, I want to get everybody a job, you're going to fail. That is not what we do.
So on that note, I think that one of the reasons that recruitment is riddled with assholes is because we treat, target, and reward recruiters like salespeople.
Yes.
And what that does is commoditizes, it turns human beings into cheeseburgers, right? That we're just trying to sell to feed the beast that is the client. And anytime you dehumanize somebody that way, you get what you get.
Absolutely.
With recruiters.
I
have been an agency recruiter. I have been the asshole. Please, I am not trying to say I'm whiter than white, right? I have I ghosted candidates in the past? Yes, ma'am, I have.
Yeah.
Have I done all of the things that are douchebag recruiter things do? Yes. Have I grown up as a professional?
Yes.
And realized
absolutely
the impact? Yes, I have as well. So I get both sides of the fence. But for me personally, I think that until we stop treating recruiters that way, we can't expect that we're going to stop having recruiters treat people that way.
I think agree.
The easy way to start that is I feel like contingency recruitment needs to go. Just go.
I would be all right with that. Now, retained search, how is that any different than what a corporate recruiter is doing? I'm making my bank no matter what.
That's right.
But I'm here to solve a problem and my paycheck isn't impacted by it, other than I better make sure that I'm meeting the goals and having the impact I'm supposed to have to earn my paycheck. But it's not dependent on me getting somebody a job. And that is the problem with contingent. I agree with you 1,000,000%.
So I work hourly.
Yeah.
And I work. So if you want to hire me to fill a role for you, great. I have an hourly fee published on my website. We'll work out the details, but you're going to pay that hourly fee.
Yep.
And that's my hourly fee if you hire my person, your person, whatever. And so as a result, my clients usually choose for me to have an email that comes from their domain so that it makes it easier for the candidate to understand who the hell they're communicating with.
Yes.
And that also it lets candidates feel more confident in a world of spammy fake jobs. It lets them feel like, oh no, she's legit. Yeah. She's got, this.
Right. She works with this company.
Exactly. Like your email address comes from Amazon. My guess is that you work for Amazon, right?
Good guess.
Like all of that. And then it just makes it easier for everybody to trust, right? If I tell a hiring manager, you're not offering enough for that role, not because I want to sell you more, because I'm going to get a percentage of what I talk you into paying. Yeah. It's because you're not paying enough for the damn role. Yeah. It's actually to my benefit for you to sit here and lowball people all day long, because then you're going to have to keep paying my hourly. Right. And so I think why Why do you think contingency continues? If smart women like us can look at that and clearly
Right.
see that's the problem, why
So
why
why is it so? It is low risk for companies.
yeah.
And it's you're only paying if you make a placement, right? So it's only I can do all the interviews I want and I can read all the resumes I want and all that stuff until the cows come home, and you can't do anything about it because I'm not going to pay you until I decide I want to hire the person. So that's it works from the company's perspective selfishly because there's no skin in the game. And the reason why it still happens on the agency side and why agency recruiters put up with it, because unfortunately, and you and I have been in this trap where we've fallen into this transactional model where if I just make enough placements and you can make a lot of money, but it's transactional. And that's why I won't do it. I get all the time, oh, you're a corporate sellout and you left agency because you couldn't hack it. Now you're a corporate recruiter. I was a number one top producer, but I got tired of treating people like cattle. That's what happened.
Like,
I
I'm
was
a
spending
hell of
more
an
time.
agency recruiter.
Exactly.
But
I'll kick all
no.
your asses, but I don't want to operate that way. I spent more time, and I love what you're saying about, being part of the team and having the same email domain and all of that, because I would spend more time at my clients' offices, working from their offices and partnering with their HR and, sitting next to the hiring manager. I do not function any differently as an internal recruiter as I did as a corporate recruiter. And guess who's also making more money now, even though I was a top biller?
There you go. There you go. So
I've earned it.
absolutely. And I love that I guess what I get frustrated with is that I think that there's a false economy in there.
Yes.
Because you and I both know, and the decision makers know as well, that time is money.
Yeah.
And so if something is cheap, it's either being done by somebody whose time is not very valuable, or they're not spending very much time doing it. And so that's exactly what, like when you use an agency that works on contingency, they're going to do the absolute minimum amount of work possible to be in with a chance. And that's it, because after that, it quits being good business for them.
Yeah. And if that is the model that works, you best be charging 25 to 30%. Can we just say that too?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if you're pulling this 10% bullshit or 15% bullshit, you're not getting the best service. And recruiting is a service. That's the number one thing I want people to understand. Recruiting is not, I brought you a body and you made it an offer. Recruiting is a service. I've gone through an extensive process of understanding your open role, figuring out the talent market, making sure we're in the right comp range, looking at, the landmines, relocation or in office versus remote, blah, 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 blah. Before I've even picked up the phone, there's a whole lot that happens if you're doing recruiting right that has nothing to do with the act of getting someone an offer letter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people grossly underestimate that. Like
yes, they do.
One of my clients very sweetly has a new coordinator, and her job is to book the interviews and that sort of thing. And she was looking at the ATS and she's like, I'm going to need for you to stop calling people because we can't track it through the ATS. But when you send emails, it tracks it through the ATS. And that way we know what's going on. I was like, oh, girlfriend. I was like, you're new here. Let me help you out. I'm going to talk to candidates however they want to be talked to, babe. They want smoke signals. I'm in for smoke signals. Carrier pigeons, done. But I'm sure as hell going to return their text messages. And I'm sure as hell going to pick up the phone. And I don't need you to record every word.
I'm going to say, I've got like 14 text messages right now from candidates that I need to get back to. So just so you know, there's one now, but we'll get to that. So yeah, like, I'm going to talk however I talk.
Exactly. Because, and what we tried, like, she asked me at one point, she was like, well, what is it you're talking to them about? I was like, bitch, the other night, I spent 45 minutes the other night quoting Steel Magnolias at one of them. Do you feel like now you understand my process? Did you think we needed to record that in the ATS for posterity? Because we don't. But what I did in that 45 minutes was make him not hate my face.
Yeah,
make him stop hating your faces because
exactly.
you've been dragging your
Exactly.
feet. Like, come on. Like
It is
exactly what
still
you
a
said, Amy.
people
It's a
business.
service.
It is a service. And that's the thing. Like, I don't mean to make it sound like at the front end, like we don't care about people, because that's not true. But at some point, especially the further you get down the road with these folks, and like I just literally got a text just 30 seconds ago from a candidate that we have created an opportunity for. And I'm so stinking excited because this is somebody that we liked and went through an interview process with and was like, oh man, it's not this role, but there is a role out there. What do we do now? And so we have taken this we've made this beautiful blend of serving this amazing person that we've met through this process, and also finding a really juicy problem that they can solve, and we're putting it together and making it an offer, and it's really freaking awesome. But it's a service, and it's grounded in what moves the business forward. That's what people miss.
And that it totally perfectly beautifully said. So I will not attempt to expand on that, but I couldn't agree anymore with you if I tried. And I get so frustrated with people thinking that all I'm doing is like, well, all you're doing is just comparing what's on the job spec to this. Like, bitch, if you think that's all I'm doing, that is the beginning part of what I'm doing. And of course, I work in tech as well, right?
Yeah, which is a whole other beast.
Dealing with engineers, God love them.
Yeah.
God love them.
Data,
but
data,
they're
data.
like, they want to jump straight into the tech stack. I'm like, baby, I've been a recruiter for 20 years, not an engineer. I don't know the words coming out of your mouth. I don't even care. Here's what I know. I know the kind of human being that we're going to hire for this role.
Yeah.
And so this is you and me chatting to figure out if you're that. Believe it or not, the fact that you just told me about your funny t-shirt collection, that was a big check on my list. I don't really give a shit how much you know or don't know about Java.
Exactly.
Because you could tell me you know everything and I could not prove you wrong because I don't know anything.
But there will be a process to vet that.
There's another person. Yeah, exactly.
We have good bullshit sniffers. And if someone tries to tell me, oh yeah, I'm an expert in GD&T, walk me through some of the 3D drawings that you've modeled. And they're like, what? Because I don't need to know how it works to know if you know what you're talking about when you explain it to me.
Oh, you've taken a lot of products to market. Fantastic. Talk me through your last product. Which sector was that? What channels did you define?
Yeah.
Oh, and how did you isolate buyer experience at each point? Talk to me about that. Oh, okay, then that's gonna be hard on that one.
Exactly. That's the thing. They misinterpret. And I had this argument just recently because I did a video about, does technical recruiters need to know tech? And the answer is obviously no. And people are arguing with me about it. And I'm like, okay, tell me you know nothing about recruiting without using the words, I know nothing about recruiting. This is where we're at.
Let me just explain to you how I'm a value add.
My technical people will do the technical vetting. My job is to do the bullshit vetting and make sure, hey, this person was able to articulate physics of failure pretty well and said some key things that make me think they've run multiple projects doing the thing. Your job is to now go deeper and get into the technical weeds and verify what I picked up through the conversation. And it almost always, I'm right. I've had hiring managers literally call me up and say, okay, Ames, you have a really good instinct for this. Do you think this is someone I should talk to?
Yeah.
That is the level of consulting that all recruiters should strive for. And I'm not saying that to like, oh, look at me, I'm so
no,
great.
no,
I'm saying that is hard work that I have earned over the years through these conversations and through learning and asking and probing and constantly trying to improve myself as a recruiting professional. And that is what we should be focused on, not just, oh my God, did I give everybody a chance? Did I hire somebody who walked in the rain for 5 miles? Shut up. That's not real. You made that up.
Oh no. And so I had a client meeting the other day and we were talking about, we were going through the rec and who was in the pool and who wasn't. And I was like, oh yeah, and I've got this person that I'm waiting on. And the hiring manager was like, these notes are really bland. Yeah. And I was like, are they? I felt like they were comprehensive. And she was like, what are you not telling me about this candidate that you obviously think? And I was like, sure, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a very straight talker. And I couldn't even get through that with a straight face. I was like, look, here's the deal. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're extremely competent. They're just also extremely boring. So I know that your team is very much the like hang out at hackathons. They have movie nights now. Like this person is probably not going to want to do that because like, I mean, really boring, but no less competent for it. And it is possible that they would warm up, that they were just boring to the recruiter chick. So I'm trying to give them benefit of the doubt. And the hiring manager just laughed and she was like, absolutely not. Every time you tell me that that this is the person that I'm going to like, you're spot on.
Yeah. You know what their their love language. And the thing is, like, a lot of people are going to freak out at that because they're going to think, oh my gosh, you're being biased against people who, don't go out for beers or whatever. But here's the reality, because we owe that same sensibility back to the candidate. Hey, candidate, I just want you to know this is a team that hangs out together every Friday. They're going to ball games and all that. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a cranky old lady and I am not joining that team. I have no, like, if they're cool with me coming in, once a week and I'll force myself to have lunch with them if they really want to. That's fine. But that's not a culture for me. So again, it goes both ways. Like the candidate deserves to know as well. It's not about limiting opportunity on the candidate's part, but it's about being very transparent about this is the culture. Like, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be happy commuting? Are you going to be happy, being surrounded by vegan food? Or are you going to be happy with political rallies in the backyard? Like, I don't know. It could be anything. And candidates just need to know.
Bring your dog to work day. If you have a dog allergy, this is not the company for you, my friends.
I mean, those are just important conversations we have to have.
And that's, I think, one of the things that I say a lot to the people I work with around like interview prep and that sort of thing is what you have to remember is that the rah that you're giving yourself about this job and all of the ways that you think you're a perfect fit, etc. There are 50 to 100 other candidates out there who have that exact same internal monologue, that exact same rah. They also have a team of people who are telling them, oh my God, you're so amazing. And if they don't hire you, it's totally their loss. And it is my job to be the gatekeeper for which of them, get to enter the Hunger Games. Right. Which hopefully, obviously, it's a better process than that, but you know what I mean?
I mean, some places.
But not to disparage where you work, Amy, but there's a reputation.
Else, but okay.
I'm just saying there's reputations. But yeah, but that's a part of our job is as much as people are like, I always get, blah, 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 blah. Dude, you and 100 other people got rejected for that. You think that I sat around thinking, haha, let's stick it to him. Like, that's not how
that's right. That's the biggest takeaway that I would want any job seeker or any candidate to hear from us. They're going to hear a lot. It's probably going to piss off a lot of people, but that's okay. But, the biggest takeaway is this is never personal. Because when it becomes personal, when a hiring manager actually fixes their mouth to say, well, I don't want to hire that person. They have curly hair. Who's the first person in line to smack some sense into them? The recruiter. Because we're not letting that happen. But what we can allow and should allow is, we need a very specific set of specialties and superpowers to be successful in this role. This person's great at what they do, but what they do isn't what we need. That's okay. I've been turned down for lots of jobs for that reason, I'm sure. And it's okay. You move on and you find your people in your place.
Well, and I think so for me, like I had this epiphany a few years ago in my own career, which I think has helped me help other people, which is that so many companies say, we really want somebody who's an outside the box thinker, who really shares their opinions and helps us grow. Girl, they all say that, and it is a lie. And so I have discovered about me, I cannot work at a company that doesn't really mean that. I mean, honestly, it's probably just as well that I work for myself anyway. But I definitely can't work for a company that doesn't really mean that, because I'm going to tell you what I think, whether or not you wanted to hear it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so that is personality. Am I any less of an exceptional recruiter for any company? Absolutely not. But I would be a terrible fit, no matter how good I am, for a company that is not genuinely looking for an employee who is going to tell them what she thinks about things.
I mean, so I have to share, it's no secret I've worked for some big names, right? You can look at my profile and figure out pretty quickly. One or two, maybe three. But here's the thing. I'll just name names. I worked for Google before I came to Amazon. And I think that Google is an amazing company who's done some really cool stuff. I was fortunate enough to work specifically with YouTube, which I loved. But there were certain aspects of the culture that were not for me. So to your point about being able to show up and be my authentic self and be able to have hard conversations and be able to be very transparent with what I'm thinking and feeling and how I want to run my desk and run this business that I'm responsible for, I'm going to be very blunt with you. That was not well received at Google. Now, was this a function of the company culture? Maybe. Was it more to do with my immediate manager? Yeah, in a big way. So I would never tell other people, oh my God, Google sucks, you shouldn't go there. But I will tell you this, I did not fit. I went home crying more often than not because I felt like I was just hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. And as crazy as it sounds, and I know people are going to make jokes about I'm drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever, I have been able to have more authentic, critical conversations at Amazon, and they are well received and asked for than I ever have anywhere else. So I know, it's a ginormous company and I'm not a spokesperson. I'm just one of a million plus employees.
Well, I think
I feel at home.
I think that that's another thing that people underestimate, especially when you talk about F100 size companies, right?
They're huge.
They're so freaking big that the experience you have in this division would have zero bearing on the experience that guy has over there. Like
1000%.
My husband works is a director for one of the big four. And I know, obviously, firsthand, I watch what his experience is, but I talk to other people coming from big four clients, that sort of thing. And I'm like, these things bear no resemblance. And it's because they have 600,000 employees.
They're can't put them in a box. I mean, you have to trust your own experience. And it's not that I would never go back to Google. I don't know if they'd want me back, but you know what I mean? It's not like I would just totally close the door just because I had a shitty boss or I had a bad experience. But I'm just saying, like, each of us has to make that call for ourselves. And different personalities are going to mesh with different leaders and different structures. I happen to love what I'm doing today, but that doesn't mean I'd have the same experience in a different part of Amazon. I don't know that I would.
Yeah. Remind me, we should talk offline in a minute about
that Amazon
experience. But yeah, so I think that that is so important that people, I know so many people who close off like, well, I would never work for Amazon because my friend's sister's cousin worked there and she said they're assholes. Okay, well, her experience was assholes and the response was assholes to her personality, but yours might be a completely different set of experiences. And I think people forget and I think that the same is true with hiring managers, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had hiring managers be like, well, she worked at such and so company. I know what they're like over there. That's not going to be a good fit. Well, maybe she was the weird kid that nobody sat with at lunch because she didn't fit in. You don't know.
You never know. And I just want everyone to be open-minded. And it's not about my current company. It's not about my previous companies. Like, it doesn't matter. Anywhere you go, your experience we all see the world through the lens of our own experience. So absolutely. Me being the oldest person on the team, me being the only one without a degree, me being, more strategic and less transactional, I could give you a laundry list of reasons why it didn't work out in other places. Those are my issues, not the company's issues.
Exactly.
There might be some company issues. But for the most part,
I mean,
will
obviously
willingly
we know that you're
own-
perfect, Amy, but part of your perfection is acknowledging that you might have had an off day. So
happens. I can be vocally self-critical when I need to be.
so we're joking about your perfection, but one of the things I like about you is that I have seen you go, you know what, you've made some big, like, brassy statements, as you and I are inclined to make. And somebody had said, bitch, please, and said something. And I have seen you say, you know what, actually, I didn't think about it from that perspective. You're not wrong. For that, in that situation, I am wrong. So what is for you, if you think about like times that Amy's been wrong in the last 12 months, what would you say is like your biggest, like, probably shouldn't have said that kind of moment?
Oh, damn.
You're out there living on the edge.
I am. I'll tell you one that like kept me up for several nights in a row. I tweeted about just a snarky comment. I'm pretty sure I was drinking when I tweeted it, so that's probably my first
Never
mistake.
Drink and tweet.
No drinking and tweeting. I should have learned from my girl Brandy Glanville. I'm a Real Housewife fan, by the way. But anyway, point being that I tweeted this throwaway comment about, being pissed off at all the people I had to reject because they were applying to roles they weren't qualified for. And we've all been there as recruiters. Like, it's demoralizing, it's frustrating, it takes time away from the people I should be talking to. But at the same time, I owe the due diligence to read the resume, make the call, but I made a stupid comment that I didn't think anything more about and went on with my day. And I woke up the next morning with the hangover, I'm sure. And the internet was coming for me. I mean, pitchforks. I was, Bezos was being tagged in tweets and retweets. Shit. I mean, I was like, damn, I've been here 5 minutes. I'm about to get fired. Like, not a good look. And it's not so much what was my statement wrong? Not necessarily. Was my approach really fucking horrible? Oh, 1,000,000%. And I think that has been the biggest learning for me as I've kind of picked up this, God forbid, following or whatever it is, people that read my stuff and somehow resonates. Like, I'm happy for it, but I also have really had to check myself with the responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
Because I do end up being the voice for recruiters, the voice for my company, the voice for people who don't even know me and want nothing to do with me. And that's a humbling thing to go, okay, it's not necessarily what I'm saying, it's what other people are reading that matters. Huge learning for me.
I can totally imagine. I am in many ways very glad that I do not have your following. I don't know like what kind of chum in the water you throw out there, girl, but they freaking come for you.
They do.
You say innocuous shit.
Yeah.
And they show up and they're like, screw you, Amy Miller. I'm like,
they do.
She said the sky was freaking blue. And then she put a photo of the sky being blue. Like, why are you mad?
Here's what I've come to realize. If I wanted to be popular, I would sell you the same old tired shit about ATS bots and giving people a chance and hiring people off the street. I would. If I wanted to be popular, I would lie to you. I would feed you the bread and circuses that you are so desperately looking for. But that's not who I am. And I started my channel, I started blogging, I started putting myself out there because I remember being a job seeker. I remember being, okay, now you have to understand this, Michelle. I grew up outhouse poor. Okay. Like, what I mean by that is, as a child of the 70s, we went to the bathroom outside without plumbing. Okay. And so I come from that experience, and I come from this, talk about being born on third base. I wasn't even born anywhere near the field. And so learning those lessons and figuring out how to get to where I am today, thank God, I want to make sure that I'm helping equip people who are coming up behind me to be able to get the same wins. And it doesn't come because you listen to a thought leader who told you not to wear black to an interview.
Or never tell them how much you're looking for. Make them go first. Just tell them, I'm not comfortable talking about money at this juncture.
Girl, I wanted to just tell them, make me an offer and sit back and smile. I'm not even going to tell you what I would say.
There's so many of them that fucking say, I have heard so many people tell people, just say, I just feel like I need to learn more about the opportunity. And I can't really give you a number until I know what your expectation is. Oh, bullshit. You're not going to take a job for 50K.
I know
how much, right? I know how much I expect to make. It's a lot because I like working for myself. So if you want me to stop that, there's this upcharge. It might be unrealistic.
There's a service charge for putting up with you.
Exactly. But but there's a number. And I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not trying to negotiate with you ass. Yeah. I just want to make sure we're not wasting anybody's time, man. Yeah. That's all. And so I talked to a great guy today and he was like, well, what is y'all's number? I was like, here's the problem. I know what our budget is.
Yeah.
But we do geographic adjustments.
Yes. That'll piss off the masses.
For your geography, but it's not my call. Exactly. Right? I don't even work for the company. So they do geographic adjustments. I was like, and I have no idea where that falls for your area. And what I don't want to do is tell you we're looking at $280K, which is what we would pay in the Bay Area.
Right.
And you're in Kalamazoo and we don't pay that in Kalamazoo. And then you're like, she said 280K.
Exactly.
I just tell me what you want. And then
that's why I don't do ranges.
Yeah. I am all about transparency. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of transparency on the ad. I love the Colorado stuff. I'm all for it.
Sure.
But I totally agree with what you've said, which is that it's just more complicated than a specific number. And so the industry has to catch up with that. Mm-hmm. So as long as we're having geographic adjustments, as long as we're having banding crap. So that's the other thing, the roles I'm hiring for have a 4-band range, Amy.
Oh yeah, that's complex. And there's so many variables. Interview feedback is a factor. Internal compression is there's so many things that go into it at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I can give you a range, but it's going to be so goddamn huge.
Yeah.
That it would be unhelpful for you. But if I can get a number from you, then I can send that to the hiring manager who is going to know after their first conversation with you, if that's the right for that band. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm trying to do, my friend. That's it.
Yeah. And for me, I do two things, both as a job seeker and as a recruiter. So as a recruiter, I'll be like, look, I can promise you we're not going below X. I know that for sure. Tons of variables. We may be way above this number. I don't know because we haven't gotten that far yet, but I can promise you we're not below X. What do you think? And most people it'll help kick off a conversation and we're starting to build trust, which is great. Now, as a candidate, if you're trying to recruit me and I get a lot of flack for this, but I'll be like, okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you my current comp because it's none of your business, but I am going to tell you the cost of me. And this is what that looks like. And you know how many never respond?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for
99%. Sure. And the ones that do respond are like, oh, well, so that's a little outside of our budget. But I'm like, okay, well, great. Well, that's my price. Because I'm perfectly happy. I'm making good money. I'm doing things I love. There's a surcharge for making a change. Sorry. That's my price.
But
every job seeker should know that.
I totally love that because that is absolutely the best way to keep from wasting anybody's time ultimately. Yeah, and exactly. For me, that's what it's about. I have all these people, I always get when I'm doing interview prep sessions. Well, how do I talk about the salary? You don't in an interview. Too late.
Yeah.
Why are you in an interview for a job you don't know how much it pays?
Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
Why would
That's
you do
why I
that?
built salary FAQs because I want every job seeker to walk into that first conversation empowered and knowing how to have that conversation with recruiters. There is a power imbalance. I think we would both agree with that.
Absolutely.
And I just want to even that out for job seekers and recruiters. I don't want to screw over recruiters any more than I want to screw over job seekers. I want all of us to recognize that our common enemy is the bullshit career coaches who came out of the woodworks when the economy crashed. That's who our enemy is.
I have a very sweet client that I'm working with at the moment. Amy, I'm so angry about this. I just like,
Oh
I know
no.
you'll join me in the
Oh yeah.
indignation. He got screwed over by his employer. He was C-suite.
Oh.
So it is hard to feel sorry for C-suite. I get it. But he's C-suite and they just like walked in one day and were like, bye, Felicia.
Mm.
We're selling out. We're selling up. And it had been privately
Wow.
owned. Didn't tell him, blah, 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 screwed. Okay. So he panics, calls some friend. He's like, oh, I know about this resume writer. You know where this is going already.
Mm-hmm.
He went, had her write his resume. Girl.
Oh no.
CFO. On his career highlights, which I like career highlights if they're really well done.
Sure.
Good career highlights are awesome. Number one career highlight was contributes to financial understanding and strategy of organizations.
What kind of dressing are we putting on that word salad?
Each bullet point is like 4 lines long. I'm like, that is not a bullet point. That's just a fucking paragraph.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, it hurts my heart.
It's yeah, exactly.
They charged him like crazy money, like $800 for this resume.
Wow.
And I'm like, I just have no words. I have no words. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can send
That's
it.
Heartbreaking.
He's CFO and the number of instances in his resume for finance. Just want to guess out of 4-page resume. 6.
I was gonna say 2.
I'm like,
wow.
This is somebody who does not understand how recruiters find people.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking. And there's just a plethora of them now, right? And great resume writers are worth every penny. I've got a list because I do respect the profession. What I don't like is the snake oil salesman who saw our economy just fall apart with this pandemic and rushed to fill what they felt was a void. And they're preying with an EY on job seekers who have never been in this situation before and don't know how to get out. And they've made you and I the enemy because we're out here spitting truth that doesn't help them sell master classes.
Well, they get extra mad at me because I just straight up say, if they have not been a recruiter in the last 10 years, you should not pay them to write your resume. End of discussion. I don't give a shit. If they were a recruiter for 20 years, but that was 20 years ago, the industry has changed dramatically in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I would not 5 years ago. I mean, I was on LinkedIn. We all were, but it wasn't like, girl, I live in that space. I know you do now too.
Yeah.
My sourcers don't even send me resumes. The only time I see resumes is if it's a direct app and I'm in the ATS.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just get LinkedIn URLs.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the case 5 years ago.
Yeah, very true.
And what I'm looking for in a resume, because standards have changed and all of that, you get so many that are formulaic, this, like you get into those habits. And the problem is that then if you get something that looks like how we wrote resumes in, 2005, A, it looks dated as hell.
Yeah.
But B, your shit's not where you expect it to be. At which point I'm like, you make me scroll.
Yeah.
And for a maybe, I will scroll.
Right.
But I might not, just depending. And it
depends on the hook.
You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know those changes if you're not here with us right now. And I
gotta have your finger on the pulse.
That's right.
I agree. Yeah.
And people are like, well, but I talk to recruiters. I don't give a shit. It is not the same. There is just shit you can only learn by going through 50 applicants in 30 minutes for a specific rec.
And you know what? That it has to be done because I can't get Sherman to do a damn thing. He just sits
You're just
here.
useless.
He just looks at me and is like, "What?" I'm just standing here like the inanimate object that I am. Kind of like an ATS. They're not self-aware yet. He wants
Well,
Skynet. That's how you get Skynet.
I feel like you work for the guy that's trying to change all of that, really. It's like
Happens.
one of the guys trying to change it. But yeah, I know you and I are so passionate about them.
Yes,
So
very.
so my husband is English. And in the UK, they have a piece of paper for every goddamn thing. Everybody's
Do
got
they?
to, you got to be certified to blow your damn nose in the
Oh.
UK. It's ridiculous. Like it's, so
Can you
he's
track
like,
that with GDPR?
but like, so he's like, well, there's certified resume writers. What if that, I was like, those are the most meaningless
So
qualifications
basically
ever.
somebody passed a test? Like what does that even mean?
Not even it. Like, so we have, like, my partners who are actual recruiters have also gotten the little certified resume writer thing just so that they can say that
Just so
they've
they can
got
say
them.
they did.
Girl, the things that they want you to do,
Ay, ay, ay.
they tell you things like you should have a minimum of 5 to 10 bullet points per job.
Why?
No, most resumes should only be 1 page long.
Oh, I hate that one. I hate that one with the burning fire of 1,000 suns. I hate it. I hate it. I
But
hate it.
here's the one that is, I think, the really dangerous advice, which is you should not use the same term more than just a handful of times in the resume. That is
Why?
the opposite of help because that is the opposite of how Boolean works.
I'm so confused. Please don't give me relevant information.
What they're saying, like, don't just say project over and again, find different words. No, no. If you're a project manager, say project manager as many times as you can fit. Because
I
when
mean,
I
if
go
that's
to
what I'm
search,
hiring.
when I type in project manager, you want to have 9,000
Oh my
instances of that
God.
term because you come up the top of my list. That's how it works. It's not
I
any more
mean,
complicated than that, Ames.
I'm going to use the term recruiter a lot if I'm ever looking for work because that's what I do.
But literally, like they will not let you. And you have to, like, for some of them, you
Wow.
have to print it out and they measure your margins
Yeah.
and the quality of your paper. I'm like, it's 2021. Ain't nobody printing out that resume.
Can I get an amen? Because I remember taking them home from job fairs in big old banker boxes, and I cared a lot more then. Now I don't care. I haven't printed a resume in like at least 5 years. And that was because I had a manager who would not look at them, and I would print them out and hunger strike at his desk and be like, I'm not leaving until you pick 5 people to interview. That was it. No more printing.
I love that.
Sorry.
But yes, no, but that's like, I'm like, dude, they are so out of touch. And
Oh,
yes,
so bad. Yeah.
but yeah.
So
So what do
bad.
you think about though the idea of, and I am all about the Amy Miller certified not an asshole resume writer. Um I will be happy to be the first to get that badge for my team. But what do you think about that? Do you think people would listen? Do you think it would matter?
I mean, I think people will listen, and I think some people will be very unhappy. But here's what I know for sure. Here's what I know for sure. When it comes to resume writing and things like that, I can read a resume probably better than most because you and I have done it for so long. Like it's just a skill that we have just built. There's a muscle memory to it, right? I am not a marketer. I am not a writer. I am not someone who is good at writing resumes. You know what I mean? So, like, I would probably pay someone myself to do it, but I would make damn sure that that person understood recruiting and that that person understood the purpose, which is to write a kick-ass marketing document that not only fits the SEO that I need, using the right words and getting picked up with the right search strings, but also is written for my audience, which is the recruiter slash hiring manager.
Yep.
So that is the good resume writer. And as I've mentioned, I have a list of people that I like, know, and trust that I recommend because I know that's not me. That's not
Yep.
my personal superpower.
And so every time I do a call with somebody about using your service, it's like, oh, are you going to write my resume? Oh, hell no. You don't want
Nope.
that to happen. No,
I can barely
no.
write an email. I'm the one that's
Right?
constantly like deleting emojis and exclamation points.
Oh,
Imagine what I do to your resume.
like I'm a lazy writer and I'm dyslexic. That is not a good combination for success.
I
But
swear
my
a lot.
writers are fantastic writers.
Yes. Yes.
And I know recruitment and our power.
Mhm.
So like it goes, they make the things and then they
Yes.
send it to me. And I'm like, oh
Yes.
shit, no, that's some garbage. I don't give
And
a shit.
you
You
help.
over.
Exactly.
But that makes for a winning combo. But yes, just being a recruiter does not mean you're a good writer. And just being a good writer
Absolutely.
does not mean you should write resumes. Like you
Exactly.
genuinely
It's
need an
a
unholy union
superpower.
of the two. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Exactly. I'm with you, girl.
See, they should just put us in charge of all the things.
They should just
I feel like
listen to us. They should just make us queen of the world and we could fix it.
I'm down. I'm down for all of those things. I think that that is an amazing idea. Amy Miller, Queen of the Universe, and I don't even know. Find a role for me, and I'm in. You just tell me. Let's do it.
Make you a duchess. I like
Okay.
duchess. Fun
Like
term.
Duchess. I do. I am technically. So my husband is technically a Scottish laird because apparently there's like this online thing where you can buy like a
There you
title.
go.
And so his dad thought that would be hilarious. And so he is
I love
technically a
it.
Scottish laird. So
So
technically
you
I
are
am already Lady Olivier.
you,
You're
you are a
welcome.
lady and you know what? You are herself.
I am definitely my own self. That is
Mhm.
truer words have never been spoken.
I love it. Lady Olivier has
There we go. There we go. So we have talked about all of the things.
covered a lot.
Covered a lot. What have we not talked about that you feel like we should talk about?
Oh man, I mean, there's so much we could go on for another hour, I'm sure, but I think the biggest takeaway, I don't even want you to listen to me. I want you as a job seeker, as a career professional, as a person who's struggling trying to unpack all of this nonsense. I want you to pay attention to the people who can actually get you to the next step. If you are looking to, get a job at a startup in Bangalore, I'm not your girl. I don't know nothing about that. Don't listen to me. My advice doesn't matter if it doesn't resonate with the person who is your actual audience. So run everything you read, see, hear, are told, are sold. Run it all through the filter of, does this actually move me to the next step in my career? The answer for a lot of you is probably going to be no, and you should throw that shit out.
Yeah. That is so wise. So wise. Excellent. I also have to say that if you want to have adorable merch that says things like world's okay-est recruiter, that you should totally follow the links in the show notes and give money to Amy because she gives it to puppies in need, which is
Absolutely.
adorable. And it's all quite fabulous. And also, other than that, please quit being jerks to Amy. I don't know why people feel the need.
They hate gingers. That's what it is. They hate gingers. I was bullied as a child for having red hair. This is just the next version of it. I'm convinced.
Oh, my giddy aunt.
Oh, and feelings.
And on that note, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. And I think probably educational for folks as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye. You've been listening to Hey, I Want Your Job. For more information on how you can get your own awesome job, visit ONH Consulting at www.onhconsulting.com. We offer incredible resumes, no-nonsense career advice, and real-world tips for landing a job in today's market. Check us out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Insta for more insider information. Soon, you'll be hearing us say, I'm Michelle Olivier, and hey, I want your job.